We are atmospheric, maybe even a bit. Oh, there we go. This is perfect. Now, what I'm going to tell you is a story, a legend of Africa. And it's about Likkewaan van der Merwe. Now, the thing of Likkewaan van der Merwe is you need to have some backstory about it. So it all started in the year 1998.
Hello.
Crow, thank you for the follow. Anyway, it all started in the year 1998. It was at the world's strongest strongman competition. Now, the difference between the world's strongest man competition and the world's strongest man competition is that they can use any steroid. Anything that is illegal in the world's strongest man competition, they could use. So these people were jacked. They were, I'm not talking about pulling cars, I'm talking about pulling Boeing jet planes, pulling everything that's possible. Like the one guy even pulled a freaking ship. And it's a cruiser ship, not like these small boats, it's a ship. So this was like a big competition. And no, not pulling them in. That's a bit ridiculous, isn't it? Anyway, so this one guy, he won. He was like, and he's huge. He's jacked. He's like he's like hips above the crowd. Huge. Everything, bro. Everything, Marcel. Everything. And he was on the podium and he's like, yeah, I won this. I'm the world's strongest man. And crowd was cheering, and coming through the crowd came 4 men carrying the trophy. And literally it took a man on each side to carry the trophy because it was so heavy. And the trophy got to him. He checked the trophy out. He grabbed it with one hand and pulled it in the air. It's like, yeah, I won. I am the world's strongest man. And everybody was cheering. It was going great. And then a voice came out of the crowd. It almost whispered, like a wind blowing. You are nothing. Likkewaan van der Merwe is everything. And he's like, what? He probably imagined it, because that's not possible. He just won the world's strongest man. So he just went on acting as if he did not hear it at all. And he's like, yeah, I still won. Crowd is still clapping hands, everything. And again, a small voice in the crowd spoke out to him. You are nothing. Likkewaan van der Merwe is everything. And it's like, okay, that's done it. He throws the trophy down and he just rushes towards where the voice comes from. And like he's picking people up and throwing them like freaking Hulk, just running through that crowd. And he ends up in front of an old man in a wheelchair. And this is like 90 years plus. This guy he's old, he's ancient. And he looks up at him, and this guy just looks down at him. He's like, what did you just say? Likkewaan van der Merwe is everything. And this guy was like, I just won the world's strongest man competition. Where is this Likkewaan van der Merwe? And the guy coughs. He looks up at him and he's like, Swart Mamba, Vrystaat. The guy's like, where's that? Where's that? South Africa. Okay. Okay. So this the world's strongest man. He contacted his agent and he's like, we need to get tickets to South Africa. I need to see this Likkewaan van der Merwe or whatever you call it. It's like, okay. So they got onto a plane. And, to get to the plane as the world's strongest man, he needed a crane. He needed a crane. And literally it picks him up and it loads him onto one of those cargo planes. And yeah, he got to South Africa and he landed on a dirt road. It's like one of those, it's not a good airport or anything, it's a dirt road at Swart Mamba. It was pretty hectic. And basically, he got out, but once again, he couldn't climb out. There was a crane to pick him out again, and his agent needed to order one of those, what do you call those big moving trucks? What do you call it? Abnormal load trucks. And so he climbed into it. He was pretty freaking huge. Not a lorry, it's abnormal load, because the truck that takes all the parts places, I'm talking about the legend of Likkewaan van der Merwe, exec. So off they went, and after some directions towards where they can find Likkewaan van der Merwe, well, they were directed to a krummetartboom. Now, for those that do not know what a krummetartboom is, this tree gets insanely old, like insanely, and it can get huge. So they eventually, are you speaking Afrikaans? It's actually, the story is in Afrikaans, but yeah. So they got to this krummetartboom and they stopped. He got out. Literally the heavy goods vehicle, the suspension almost broke from it, but it actually lifted up this freaking high. Like if this was the vehicle, the guy is freaking heavy, and it's the world's strongest man. He got out and he walked up to the krummetartboom, but you see, in the krummetartboom there is a bar built into the tree. A krummetartboom is a tree, krummetart tree. And so of course, this guy, he flew all the way from where the competition was to South Africa to witness this. So of course, you go a bit incautious. So he checked it out and saw nobody really big in this bar. So almost as when he walked in, it was one of those swinging doors. As he walked in, on both sides of the entrance, 1 meter actually broke off because his shoulders were that large. Like it's freaking huge. And everybody looked at him entering, checked him out, and then just went back to what they do. So now this guy's like, what is this? Normally I get a bigger, impression of the people when they see me for the first time. So he's starting to get a bit nervous. Okay? Very, very nervous. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna go sit at the bar. It's not his first time at a bar. So he went to sit at the bar. He called the bartender. The bartender walks up to him, he checks him, is like, what can I get you? He's like, give me the strongest drink you have. And he's like, are you sure? Yeah, the strongest. He's like, okay. He walks behind, like in the kitchen side, and he pulls out a bottle. And as he's walking to the bottle, he picks up a shot glass. And before he could throw in, the world's strongest man grabbed the bottle and drank straight from it. He downed the whole bottle. And even afterwards, to get the most out of it, he even ate the bottle. Like glass and everything, that's like glass, everything is tough. Very, very tough. So as he's sitting there, he He looks a bit around, and he really doesn't see anybody. And he almost thought that he got the wrong place. But suddenly, something in the air changed. Something was coming. Something extraordinary. From the counters and from the woodwork, cockroaches started coming out of everywhere and they started running. And people in the bar, they were starting to stress, like, okay, wait, we know what's happening. And they started leaving. And the guy's like, okay, where are you guys going? What's happening? And they just left. And he got this ominous feeling, so he walked outside. And he looked into the distance. And in the distance, he saw a small dust cloud approaching. And he checked this out, like, okay, that must be the man I've come to see. So he stood against a krametar tree with his arms crossed like this and with one foot against the tree. And he watches this dust cloud and he looks down. And after a while he watches up again. And now he can start to make out a bit more of what is coming. It almost looks as if someone is riding a horse. So he looks down again. And he looks up again. And now they're a bit closer. But now he sees like, but that does not look like a horse. It really does not. That's a rhinoceros. And now he swallows a bit and he looks down again and he looks up again and now he can make out a bit more details. And he sees, but the guys on top is whipping the rhino on both sides. And it's like, whew, okay, this is pretty intense. It's like the few people I know, they don't ride rhinos, and they definitely do not whip a rhino. So he looks down again. And he's now getting stressed, you know, he's getting nervous. And he looks up again. And now I can make out a bit more details. And he sees, but the guy that's whipping the rhino, it's not an actual whip he's holding. It's a crocodile. Now, you know, he gets that nervous chuckle. It's like, you know, he's stressing, and it's like, nobody I know uses the crocodile for a whip. That's a bit crazy. So, but he's still the world's strongest man. I mean, he can do anything. So he walks back into the bar and he waits this guy to appear, and after a while, he hears the rhino approach, but the ground shakes of the weight of the rhino. And after a moment, he feels an impact on the tree. And one can only assume that the way the man that appeared parked his rhino is by putting the horn into the tree so that it can't run away. And he's like, whew. Okay, a guy, he's sitting at the bar now and he's waiting. He's like, sweats. He's tapping down his face because this is real. This is not a competition. This is hectic. And he waits and he sits, and suddenly you just hear destruction and scraping as the man enters the bar, and 2 more meters on each side breaks as he enters. It's a big guy, and he sits next to the world's strongest man. And he grabs all the bottles that have been waiting there. And he drinks it, he downs it. And he eats all the glass. He even picks up the table and starts eating. This man is next level. And eventually he settles down. And he just sits. And the world's strongest man. He walks up to this egg. He builds up the courage and he walks up to it. And he's kind of swallowing. He's swallowing and he looks at this egg. And he asks him, "Are you Likkewaan van der Merwe?" The guy looks at him and is like, "Oh no, is he on his way?" And that's the that's the story.